Okay, this is the final recording for video 5 for the third test on January 24th. And this will take us to sheet number 11, where we started off by describing three categories of Mechemet Mitzvah according to the Rambam. The first is Mechemet Sheva Amamim, the Mechemet against the seven nations that inhabited Eretz Yisrael, Kanani, Prizi, Chivi, Yevusi, etc., etc. The second is Mechemet Amalek, is a war against Amalek. And the third is Ezrat Yisrael Miyatzor Shabbat, which means any sort of defensive war would be attacked. Those are the three categories of Mechemet Mitzvah. And the other war which the king decides to take on is called Mecheret Reshut, which is a optional war. Okay, so when it comes to the seven nations, the Rambam says, "Mitzvah say lachrim sheva amamim shne'amar charim tachrimim." The mitzvah is to destroy all the seven nations. And if you come across one of the members of these nations and you don't kill them, you have transgressed a negative commandment in the Torah. You're not supposed to let them live. But here the Rambam comes to three very important words: uchvar, avad, zichram. We don't know who they are anymore. Historically, Sancheriv, who is the Melech of Ashur of Assyria, when he came to this part of the world, he came in Bibelet Kol Umot. He made everybody move, and we don't know who's who, what's what, and therefore we can no longer have anything. We don't know. We can't identify who was from these seven nations. When it comes to Amalek, things are a little bit different. The Rambam says, Amalek. You're supposed to go ahead and destroy Amalek. Erase any memory of Amalek. Umitzvah say there's an additional positive commandment, to go ahead and to remember what they did, their bad things. They tried to ambush us, in order that we should understand why we're hating them. It says, so that's what we do. We have Parshat Zachar. We read every week the Shabbat before Purim. We remember about Amalek. But again, obviously, we're not in a position right now to destroy Amalek. But interesting enough, the Rambam does not say Uchvar Avad Zachram. This by the Sheva Amamim, he says we don't know who they are anymore. By Amalek, he doesn't say that. So that leads us to the conclusion that apparently there is a mitzvah to wipe out Amalek. Who is Amalek? So Soloveitchik explained, and here it is in English: any nation that declares that its policy is to destroy the Jewish people is to be considered Amalek. For they have etched on the flag the slogan, let us destroy the Jewish people. So Amalek sort of like exists. Maybe we don't know the exact nation, but any nation that has the characteristics of Amalek is to be considered Amalek. The next part of our sheet has to do with Dvarim Perachaf, Pasuk Aleph through Tet. So let's go there and look. And if you have Yitzhak, you open up, you can follow along in the English as well. Okay, so the Torah tells us, if you go out to war, and all of a sudden you see that the other nations, wow, they're more powerful. Don't be scared. Hashem is with us. And we come to the Vayaka Karachel Milchama, you're going out to battle, but there was a special Kohen who was called a Mashuach Milchama. He was anointed for the purpose of giving a pep talk to the people. And he gave them a pep talk. Shema Yisrael. You're about to go into battle. Don't be scared. God is with us, so there's no reason to be scared. So let's answer the first questions, and a lot of them are based upon the Rashis, which are right over here, which are copied onto your sheet from the Psukim and the Rashis. So let's go to the questions over here. Just let me adjust my page so I can scroll down easily. Here we go. So question one, what is the title of these nine psukim? The answer is, this is the parsha of Mashuach Milchama. Kohen, Mashuach Milchama. What type of war is the Torah describing? This is describing a Milchemet. This is describing a Mechemet Mitzvah. Excuse me, Mechemet Reshut. I'm sorry. A Mechemet Reshut, an optional war. Then the Mashuach Milchama comes, and we're going to see soon that he offers different people to go home. What is the halacha regarding a Mechemet Mitzvah? Everybody's got to fight. Everybody's got to fight. So in the pasuk it says, "Kitzetzei milchama alevecha." If you go out to war against your enemy, well, who else are you going out to war? Of course, your enemy. So Rashi wants to know that alevecha. So the question is, who else are you fighting? Of course, you're fighting your enemies. So he says, "You beinecha ka'ivim." Make sure that they are in your eyes as enemies. Atrachem alehem. Don't have rachmanut on them. Ki lo yirachmu alacha, because they're not going to have rachmanut on you. And that's very, very important. So you go to war again. It's hard because he has to kill people, and that's not fun. And you can't have rachamim on them because they're not going to have rachamim. They're not going to have rachamim on you. Okay, so going back, and that's the answer to question 3. The question of Rashi is, Alevecha, of course you're fighting your enemy. The answer is make sure you understand that they're your enemy. Okay, forgetting about question 4. According to Rashi, the significance of the phrase Shema Yisrael in Pasuk Gimel. So in Pasuk Gimel, if we go back to our Pasukim over here, it says that the Amalehem, the Kohen Moshuach L'Chamad, tells the troops, Shema Yisrael. Very interesting words. Aten krivim ayom, listen, O Israel, you are coming close today to Milchama on your enemies. But this word Shema Yisrael is loaded. So Rashi goes ahead, and it's on the sheet, and we'll scroll. Hopefully we'll be able to scroll up over here. It's not letting me scroll so easily. I don't know why not. So Rashi tells us, Shema Yisrael, afilu ein bachem zechut el kriyat shema bovad kedai atem sheishiyatchem. Even if your only merit that you have is that you say kriyat shema, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to help you, and that's a very, very powerful, very powerful statement. And that's what we get from the word Shema Yisrael. Okay, I'm skipping question 6. Who was urged to return back home? So if you go to the Psukim, we have 4 categories of people that were urged to leave the war rather than stay in the troops and to demoralize them. So we can go to Pasuk A. The children spoke to the people, who built a new house and yet did not really live inside of the house. He should go home. He's going to be afraid that he's going to die in war, and that somebody else is going to go ahead and live in his house. Who's the person that planted a vineyard and did not yet go ahead and have the ability to reap its grapes? He should go home. He's afraid he's going to die in war. Someone else is going to come on his property and to reap all his hard work. If one has betrothed a woman and yet did not marry her yet, he should go back home. He's afraid he's going to die and someone else is going to marry her. So all these people are not going to have their mind on war. They're going to be too scared. They'll go ahead and they're going to demoralize the troops. And then Pasuk Chet is the important Pasuk. The Shoshim say one more thing to the people. It says, anybody scared? Anybody has a soft heart? You're a coward. Go home. And he shouldn't go ahead and spread his cowardness to the other people. So here, at first glance, you have 4 categories of people: someone with a new house, someone with a new vineyard, someone who's betrothed a woman, did not yet marry her, and someone who's just plain scared. But you have a very, very, very important Rashi here, which we'll take a look at over here. So Rashi tells us an important machloket between Rav Yossi Haglili and Rabbi Akiva about Yorei v'rach levav. Rabbi Akiva omer k'mashma'o she'eno yochol lamod b'kashrei ha'milchama v'rod cheresh lufa. According to Rabbi Akiva, we're talking about someone who just is scared. You're scared, please go home. You're not helping us by being here. Rabbi Yossi Haglili omer says, no, hayorei me'averot shebiyadav. This person is scared because of averah. He's scared that he hasn't done what he's supposed to do, and he's afraid now to go to a makom sakana, to a dangerous place, and this might be the time where punishment is exacted against him. So that the other 3 categories of someone who built a house or planted a vineyard or betrothed a woman are really a cover for this guy. this guy has averot. Okay, if they're going to make an announcement, okay, everybody has averot, leave. They'll feel embarrassed. He's going to feel self-conscious. He doesn't want to do that. So they made these 4 announcements, and then anybody who had a left. Now, people leaving, they didn't know. Maybe the guy has a new house. Maybe he printed a vineyard. They won't know that the reason why he's leaving is because he's afraid of his averot. So that's something which is very, very important. According to Rav Yossi Aglili, the other 3 stories that they had a cover for this guy was done in Averah. Okay, so that's the machloket, Rabbi Akiva, Rav Yossi Aglili, Rugani Isharei. According to Rabbi Akiva, talking about coward. According to Rav Yossi Aglili, it's talking about someone who's scared of the averot. Okay, what averah are we talking about over here? What is haunting this guy? So the Gemara says right over here, Kaman azah tatanya bin tefillah letefillah aferi biyadav v'chozer ala mercher mechama kaman Rav Yossi Aglili. That the Breita says anybody that talks between the tefillin shayat, the tefillin shorosh, that's an avirah, and if you have that avirah, you shouldn't go out to war. So it's just shows you that when you put on tefillin, to really concentrate on putting on tefillin, something which is very important. Okay, the next part of 11 goes to Perek Chaf Gimel Pasuk Yud. Let's go to Perek Chaf Gimel Pasuk Yud, chapter 23, verse 10, and here we are. So here the pasuk says, "Kitzetzei machana achal avecha." Again, you're going to war against your enemy. V'nishmartam mikol davara, which literally means be careful the way you behave. Behave nicely. Don't do avirot. The obvious question is, you should never do avirot. Why all of a sudden, when it says, "Oh, kitzetzei machana avecha," you're going to war, you shouldn't do avirot? Why all of a sudden are we giving a special warning not to do avirah when you're going out to war? So we have again a Rashi and Ramban. Rashi says, "Shasatan mekatreg b'shat sakana," which means that when you're in a dangerous situation is when the Satan gets to work and says, sort of like says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, listen, now this guy hasn't been doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's going to a dangerous place. Maybe now is the time that punishment should be exacted against him. So when you go to a dangerous place, you have to watch out for the Satan. So you're in war. Now you have to be extra special to be good. Okay, that's what Rashi understands. The Ramban understands something very, very different. The Ramban goes ahead and says that when you go to war, all your moral codes fall down. What happens? You go to war, all of a sudden you start to kill people. You're not allowed to kill people. And all of a sudden, they say, no, here you can kill people. And what very, very often happens at war, and you say it now with the Ukrainians and the Russians all the time, is usually accompanied by pillage, by rape, by all sorts of other things. Because once a soldier is told that he can go and kill, that means he can rape, he can steal, he can do everything else also. And that's what the pasuk says, according to the Ramban, is that, when we go to war, be so careful not to fall into that trap. Don't think that all of a sudden, just because now you're told to kill somebody else, that hakol mutar, that everything is allowed. You could rape, you could pillage also, and that's very, very important. That a Jewish soldier realizes that he's being told to kill to protect his country, but does not give him permission just to run amok and to do anything that he feels that should be done. And that's the way the Ramban understands the pasuk, the nishmartam mikol tavarat. So according to Ramban, why actually warning is needed during the war? Because during war, your moral compass is totally destroyed, because you are told that you can kill, and we're very scared that a soldier might go ahead and might take it into his hands. If I can kill, I can do other things as well. No, v'nishmartam mikol tavarat. Very, very, very important. Okay, the next pasuk dealing with war is Perachaf Psukim Yutet in Chaf. So here the psukim say as follows. Yeah, let me get the psukim up for you. Yeah. Okay, pasuk Yutet. Kitzasur el ir yamim rabim milachem elal letafsa. If you're going to lead siege to a city a long time in order to capture it, lo tashchit et eitzal and darch alav garzen. Don't just cut down the trees for no reason. Keep the trees up if you can. Because they bear fruit. We're talking about fruit-giving trees. Because one day you might need that fruit. Don't destroy them. lavo mipanecha b'matzar. A person is needing of the trees. And you might need these trees one day. So just in Pasuk Chaf, but if you have a tree which doesn't bear fruit, those you can go ahead and you can cut down. And you can lay siege to the city until you're able to capture the city. So you have this very, very interesting halacha that even a war doesn't mean just chop down trees willy-nilly. So Rashi understands ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh, harikim l'shoim b'lashon dilma, maybe. Shema ha'adam eitz hasadeh likanes b'toch ha'matzor b'panecha l'tyatzir b'yisui ra'ah b'tzamei kanshei ha'ir. Then maybe a person is going to find himself in need of food. You're laying siege and say, right now, you're laying siege to the city, but you might find yourself in a difficult position and you may need that tree. Don't be stupid. Don't go ahead and just cut down the tree for no reason. That tree is a source of food and may really be a source of food for you also. So that is the way that the Rashi understands it, is don't cut down the tree because the tree might also benefit you one day. And so don't be stupid and just cut down the tree because you can. But rather you should try to keep it up. So that is the way Rashi understands the prohibition. The Sefer HaChinuch goes ahead and says, well, we learned something from here. Don't go ahead and destroy things unneededly. What we call Baal Tashchitz. Baal Tashchitz, and I'll write it down over here so you'll see it, is spelled Bet Lamed. Just don't go ahead and destroy things for no reason whatsoever. So here the Torah is describing it in war, but it goes any place. If there's something of value to somebody, don't just destroy it because you feel like it, because you don't need it right now. So you have this inyan about Baal Tashchit, and then the Sefer HaChinuch says, the Chachamim said, don't destroy anything. And if you destroy something because of anger, Amru Allah, the Gemara calls them it's like you're worshiping idols. You're losing it. Because that's the Yetzirah is getting to you. That today the Yetzirah is saying, get angry and just destroy things. Tomorrow I'll tell you to do something else. So you have to go ahead and you have to get self-control. And even if you're very angry, not to just go ahead and to willy-nilly destroy things. Okay, the last pasuk in this unit is Perach Daled, pasuk K. So it's a very interesting pasuk. Let's go to Perach Daled, pasuk K. So go to Perach Daled, pasuk here. This is Perach Aleph, and Perach Bet, Perach Gimel, Perach Daled, and Perach Hey. Okay, and the pasuk says as follows. One. Let me pause the recording for a second. Okay, I'm sorry for that little delay. Let's take a look again. Then Perach Daled pasuk Chafei. So I made a mistake here for a second. Let's go back and look through the magic of the. Okay, here we go. Okay, Kikak ish isha chadasha. You just got married. Lo yitzei batzava. You should not go out to the army. But lo ya'avor alav l'chol davar. You shouldn't go ahead and leave her for any reason. Naki yehel lebeito shana achat. You should be at home for 1 year. V'simach et ishto asher lakach. And you should enjoy each other. Marriage is a big step, and you have to learn to live with each other. And you have to go ahead and put the roots down and the foundation down for your relationship. And therefore, for the first year, you should go ahead and you should stay put. You shouldn't go to the tzava. You shouldn't go to the army. Now, what is this talking about? Because we know lots of people that get married and do go to the army. So let's see what this is talking about. Here we go. L'chol davar. So says Rashi, Shu l'tzorach hatzava. You can't do anything that has to do with the army at all. Lola sapek maim umazon, lola taken drachem. Not even to do what we call the Pikuda Oref, to do things that have to be done for the population back home or for supply lines. But those people that came back from the Milchama, from the Kohen, if you built a new house or you just betrothed a woman, must begin my muzzle. They not told, they just don't go home. They do, and they do help out in the what's called the Bikuda Oref, in the home front. And they go ahead and they repair the roads. We see from here this whole halacha is only talking about a milchemet reshut. Then the new groom does not go to war. If you're involved in a milchemet mitzvah, then even chatam mechupata v'kala mechupata, everybody has to go ahead and do what they have to do, even the chatan. So this whole halacha is talking about mechemet reshut, and mechemet reshut, the chatan doesn't have to do anything, doesn't even have to do things in the pikuda oref, in the home front, whereas the other people that leave the war do have to help out with the supply lines and other things that have to go. Now the question is, how far does this exemption go? So we just learned it's just even, you don't have to do supply lines or anything else. The discussion, which is interesting, is does this apply just to tzavah, or is this for business also? Let's say somebody gets married and they want to take a business trip. Are they allowed to take a business trip the first year? It's a question. Okay, take care, everybody.